about the .hack GU trilogy. Do I need to know anything about the anime to understand it? You know why I played the entire trilogy without watching the anime? Roots, it's called. And Roots, it's supposed to be a prequel. And yes, even though I didn't do that, I do recommend watching the anime. Only Roots, you don't need to watch any other series. Just watch .hack Roots and you'll understand Haseo and his motivations and Ovan and his motivations a lot more when you play the trilogy. So it is highly recommended to watch the anime before playing the trilogy. Have you played Hades? No, I played the other two games by the company Supergiant Games. That's the developer's name. No? Right? Well, those guys did Bastion. And they did Transistor. Isometric View. They're pretty good games, but I never finished either because they just got too repetitive for me. Very repetitive. It's the same over and over and over and over and over again, and I just got tired. They're good games, though, and I have nothing against them, but in the end, they weren't, like, let's just say they weren't for me. But Transistor, I like the ideas, I like the character, the story. I think the story was better than in Bastion. In Bastion, it was interesting because you get this narrator guy telling the story while your silent protagonist goes around fighting. That was interesting, but in Transistor it made more sense and it was more compelling. I like the storytelling more, but the gameplay and the battle mechanics in Transistor were like really hard to understand and get into, man. Like truly convoluted and complex. Bastion was simpler and it had better gameplay in my opinion. So yeah, they're good games. A lot of interesting stuff about them too. Original ideas. But because I didn't become a real die-hard fan of those games, I never got into Hades. I know Hades was like a wow, overly praised and super successful, and I've seen it for dirt cheap here and there. Maybe one day I'll get into it, but I've heard it's a little bit of a roguelike, like dungeons are randomly generated and stuff like that, which is kind of like in Bastion and Transistor. That turned me off. Oh man, I do know why that is. Butterlito. He says, I started playing the first two Cold Steel games on the PS Vita, and then I found out they do not have Japanese voiceover. Do you think, why do you think the reason is? I do know. There was a controversy between that. That was around the time when XSeed Games was kind of like getting into some financial conversations with Nihon Falcom, the developers. Something happened in there that XSeed said, well, let's just say that XSeed stopped localizing the Trails series, and then NIS America took over. Okay, we all know that. As to why they stopped, I don't know, but why didn't they include the Japanese dub? According to the guy back then at the time who was the head of XSeed Games, he said that Falcom told him not to include the Japanese dub. And he and his company were like, why not? Well, okay, if they say don't include it, then we won't include it. And then Falcom retracted those words, according to this guy, and said that XSeed fucked up and didn't include the Japanese dub. And so it was a Twitter conversation, I think, and the guy from XSeed Games said, no, what the hell's, why is Falcom saying this? We asked them if we could include the Japanese dub because the Japanese dub is there in any other game we've localized before. Why wouldn't we include the Japanese dub for these two games in particular? Falcom told us no, so we didn't include it. So he was like, you understand what's going on, right? Falcom told them, no, it's XSeed fault. And XSeed was like, no, it's their fault, so believe who you want to believe. So I played some XSeed games and they don't have Japanese dub, so I choose to believe Falcom. Well, if we're talking about most video games from the PlayStation 2 era and below that XSeed localized, you're right, none of them have not a single one of them has a Japanese dub. Wild Arms 4 and 5 were localized by XSeed Games, no Japanese audio in there. So maybe they were just talking about other games from the series, maybe the Ys games. How about the Ys games on the PSP? Did they have any Japanese dub available? What are your thoughts about Blue Reflection? I only played the sequel, Second Light, and it surprised me. It surpassed my expectations. I was expecting the game to be just merely a girls' game, fan service game. and it turned out to be such a wonderful experience. Not exactly a masterpiece, the game does have a few flaws, but I loved it, man. I really loved it. The first one I haven't played it because it's usually kind of expensive, and I've been keeping an eye on its physical edition for some years now, but I still don't have it, and I still haven't bought it. I will someday. Hopefully I can play it someday because I really like the second game. There are rumors about a new Fire Emblem game coming out soon. I highly doubt it. They just released one less than a year ago. Came out at the end of January of 2023 called Fire Emblem Engage. I don't think they'll release a new game so soon. If they do, it's probably going to be one of those Warriors games, kind of like a spin-off. Like Warriors with the Engage characters maybe. Or some kind of mobile bullshit. And if they were a brand new mainline Fire Emblem game this soon, I can almost guarantee it's not. It's a fake rumor. It's fake news. And the Digital Devil Saga has some of the worst dungeon exploration ever. I don't find it boring though, as in to fall asleep playing it. More like it's just tedious. A shit ton of random encounters. You get lost easily. Yeah, Digital Devil Saga is brutal when it comes to dungeons, man. It's just goddamn. Was there ever a physical copy, Leave It or Run or something, of Chrono Cross for PS4 or 5? Nope. I think the only version of it is on the Switch. And I think it was handled by PlayAsia. Do you have a favorite JRPG story or character that was brand new of 2023? Let me think. Yeah, story. Redemption Reapers. And my favorite character was the protagonist herself, Sarah. So, yeah. That's a good question though. Best JRPG story and character of 2023? Best story? We're not counting remasters or remakes or anything, you know, because we did get a remake of Star Ocean 2 and Super Mario RPG, but the stories and characters in those games are old. Okay, all that was remade was the game itself, the gameplay, the graphics. The story was not remade, like in Final Fantasy VII Remake. So those don't count. And therefore, if those don't count, yeah, man, I'm gonna have to choose Redemption Reapers. I think it's got an unusual story with an unusual ending. The game got a lot of criticism because of the ending, but I don't know, I thought it was an original ending. I mean, what other JRPG out there ends up like that, right? Yeah, that was great. And I think Sarah, the main character, was a wonderful character. We don't get a lot of development out of her, which is usually the case in strategy RPGs, but she did get some development and some kind of, closure to her development at the end of the game. So definitely my pick will be Redemption Reapers. Very unusual pick, I know. Such an obscure game that went under a lot of people's radars last year. But yeah, that's my pick, man. Redemption Reapers, the best story of 2023. And definitely the best character. Yeah. Fuga Melodies of Steel 2 comes close. When it comes to story, one of the best stories. Trails into Reverie had a great story too, but it was mostly a closure to the Crossbell arc and some Rin Schwarzer issues. So while the story is still great, I don't think it's one of the best stories of 2023. Because at the end it goes like pretty bonkers with some science fiction stuff and some like nonsensical stuff in there. I think Trails into Reverie for me was a game that stood out mostly for its gameplay mechanics and battle mechanics and music, right, other than its story. But it's a good closure, right? It's just a lot of people won't be able to appreciate it unless they play the entirety of the Trail series first. So it's kind of a hard pick, but it's a great story nonetheless. Honorable mention maybe. If there will be fire on your apartment... Questions, man. What 3 items will you grab first before you go out of the building? Oh man, my guitar, probably. Although it's fucking heavy. My laptop. I can't work without my laptop and it will be a pain in the ass to get a new computer. So my phone, I guess. The important stuff, right? Yeah. Not an interesting answer. If you're asking about my video game collection, just ask, man. What 3 games will I pick up before leaving? Right? So I guess I will pick my copy of Chrono Cross, my copy of Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, and my copy of Haunting Ground. No way, Chrono Cross is my favorite game, sure, but the game isn't that expensive. I will grab my 3 Holy Grails. Haunting Ground on the PS2. Path of Radiance on the GameCube. And, holy shit, man. I'm taking too long to answer, I'm already burning alive alongside my collection. I'll probably stay and burn alongside my collection, man. Who is best girl from Dragon Quest? Like, from which Dragon Quest? Or the entire series? Well, when it comes to fan service, you cannot beat Jessica and that huge, lovely cleavage. Yeah, Jessica from Dragon Quest VIII. She's the best waifu ever, I guess. Jade from Dragon Quest XI. She's sexy, she's powerful, she's awesome, she's cool, she's great, right? I love her too. Okay, what else? Well, in terms of fan service, there's also the twins in Dragon Quest. Was it 4? Yeah, right, Dragon Quest 4. The twins. There's a dancer in there. Maya and Mina. Okay? Maya and Mina. Definitely. Greatly looking characters. There we go. Sounds to me like Dragon Quest 4 needs some kind of remake, modern remake, but with modern graphics, with Dragon Quest XI graphics. So you can see the twins in their full glory. Do you think we will ever get a Dragon Quest VIII HD remaster on modern consoles? We got something similar for the 3DS some years ago. But yeah, we could use at least a freaking digital port. Square Enix, what's going on in there? I don't think we will, but hopefully we will. Which JRPG games you can customize characters the most? Like body, clothing, Code Vein, God Eater. The God Eater trilogy has a lot of customization, man, but it's not that deep. I mean, in Code Vein, they went bonkers, man. I've seen a shit ton of characters from different people, different gameplays out there. Yeah, Code Vein has a lot of character customization. I think it's one of the kings in customization. What's your favorite girl from Persona 4? Yukiko. What's my favorite... So basically, what's my favorite combat ever? Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem on the Game Boy Advance or the GameCube / Wii. I mean, yeah. The Fire Emblem series has my favorite video game combat ever. I love it, man. Why is Microsoft still competing in the video game industry? Because they're still making money. I don't think it's about competition. It's not like, oh my god, I can't beat Nintendo and PS5, I'm gonna quit. No, they're still making millions, man. Millions of dollars. Why should they quit? Persona 4's music is better than 3 and 5? For me, yes. Well, that's debatable. Hard to pick which game has the better soundtrack, to be honest. I can tell you this, Persona 3 has the worst battle theme of all fucking time. The boss battle theme, though, that's great. But the regular battle theme in Persona 3... No, man. This one has the... 4 has the best regular battle theme of the 3. Last Surprise in Persona 5 is great, it grows on you. But this one is better. It's just a classic. The boss battle theme, I think my favorite comes from Persona 3. Is it worth buying a PS3 nowadays just for the RPGs that are stuck in there? Yes. There are plenty of exclusive JRPGs on the PS3 that never came out on other consoles. Like Tales of Exilia 1 and 2, of course. Tales of Grace SF, the Tales games, right? And there are others, you know, that haven't been released on newer systems. A couple of exclusive like Folklore, for example, Tears to Tiara 2, Trinity. Unfortunately, these games are kind of expensive nowadays, are around the $50 to $60 range. But yeah, that's what people pay nowadays for a brand new RPG. So yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah, there are some important games in there, man. My PS3 collection is back there. Yeah, some of the best ones on the PS3 are already on PS4, like the Trails games, Odin Sphere, Nier, Valkyria Chronicles. Well, Eternal Sonata is still there. It's also on 360, but I mean, the definitive version of that game is on the PS3, so that's a great reason to buy a PS3. Lost Dimension, that's another one, another reason for you to buy a PS3 because it's on PS3 and PS Vita. But I mean, let's face it, you're not gonna get a PS Vita and pay an outrageous price for the PS Vita version when the PS3 version, I think it's cheaper. And yeah, that's another reason to buy a PS3. Art on Helico 3, that's an exclusive on the PS3. That's a pretty good game. Sure, it went action before Final Fantasy did. Or Final Fantasy did it first? No, Art on Helico did it first, changing from turn-based to action. Yeah, but the game's still pretty damn good on the PS3. Yeah. Yes, my answer is yes. You have a lot of reasons to buy a PS3. Old Timer Eternity also didn't get re-released. That's a masterpiece. That's the best PS3 JRPG, man. Definitely a good reason to buy a PS3 in 2024. Never thought Eric would recommend Akiba's Trip. Well, one of the worst JRPG series? Oh my god, no, it's pretty good. It's not a masterpiece, has some problems, it's just a game you play for fun. It's good though, I don't see it as bad. I think there's one in the series that got a lot of bad reputation and bad reviews, and that was Akiba's Beat, which tried to be a Tales clone with some rhythm stuff in there that sometimes you gotta beat the enemies by clicking the right buttons to create, and it was bad. And it's also kind of like very, very on the Akihabara scene with some idle bullshit focus. So I can see why it got a lot of trash. I didn't think it was bad though, Akiba's Beat. But Akiba's Trip? That's a good game, man. I don't know why it got a lot of trash. And it's developed by Acquire. A lot of people don't know that. You probably know who Acquire is, right? The same people who developed Octopath Traveler 1 and 2 developed Akiba's Trip. Oh yeah. About to reach 100,000 subscribers. Thanks, man. Any plans to make a special video? Yeah, I'll probably do a live stream, a special video, and if I can get my hands on Time and Eternity, I will stream it. I promised that a long time ago. But it's not a guarantee. If I can't get my hands on it somehow, I won't stream it. So I'm not gonna promise anything. Okay, and that's it, everybody. That's it. Thanks a lot for asking your goddamn questions. Thanks a lot for hanging out. And I wish you the best for the rest of the week. And I will see you in the next Q&A, the next Sunday, 12 p.m. Central Time. Don't miss it. Be there. Thanks for watching, everybody. And thank you for your comments.